look at the audit section, the financial piece, a lot of people score very low because they don't have this in place. And those points help, because the other part of your proposal could be scoring high, and that'll bring you down, and bring you down at least 10, 15, 20 points.
Right. I mean, it's more than just bring you down. It can just be a deal breaker. I mean, it's something like not having if you have a financial statement, but it's a little sloppy, that'll bring you down. If you just don't have one, it's a total turnover.
I was notified by DYCD that I had to do it, but I'm getting less than $45,000 anyway, so
Well, I mean, again, if it's a compliance issue and you're going to have to do it at some point, regardless, you might as well just bite the bullet and do it now. If they've got the money and that's the only thing holding it back, go ahead and do it. I mean, you can even go to, if affording the audit is an issue, you even go to the auditor and say, I've got $25,000 coming to me. At which point I'll be able to pay you. Can you do the audit and wait 3 months for the grant to be awarded? I mean, no point in just sitting on it. Which is a nice segue to the to the first point here. But if you're going to go out there and start doing this for the first time, which for a lot of organizations that have been relying on the same steady core of people and haven't bothered to have to write a formal proposal for a while, this is something that they're going to be doing. Take a look at that list in the previous slide and just get the house in order, because in the first place it has to happen anyway, and in the second place it just opens the door for you to more potential grants. And it is something that the nonprofit help desk does. So it is a shameless plug, but I'll say it anyway. One of the things, one of the most important things we do, the motto is helping you do good better. And so we've got staff of fiscal people, legal people, and other experts who've been doing this for many years who can assist. But obviously, if you've got local volunteers, your local accountant who can do it for you for free, hey, I mean that's definitely better. The NPHD services are free if they're funded, and we try very hard to assist you in finding funding to cover those particular services. But it's not always possible. If you've got somebody local who can do it for you, avail yourself of it. Okay, what are some of the documentation requirements that typical funder will be asking for? I mean, I'm not talking about just those things that we were mentioning before, but these are again additional legalities that you ought to be fulfilling anyway. What's your charter, certificate of incorporation? A nonprofit needs to be a formal corporate kind of organization, an entity in and of itself, before almost anybody will provide any funding for it. In order to actually legally go out and ask people to give you money and enable them to use that money as a tax deduction, you have to be certified not only as an organization, but as a nonprofit organization, which is called 501(c), as I'm positive all of you know. But you've got to go through a process to obtain a 501(c). It's important that you have a mission statement. Now, this is not a requirement in the same sense that a 501(c) is a requirement, but it's very nice if you articulate in your grant proposal that we really, really believe in providing top-notch, home-based senior care. But somebody will go to your website and hopefully you have a website, or look at your literature or whatever, and they're going to want to read there independently, what your organization is all about. So if your website, talks about your after-school program, and you're applying for a grant that addresses home-based senior care, there's a little bit of a dissonance over there, a disconnect. hey, wait a minute, what are these guys? Did they just put on a different hat depending on who's giving out the money? It's perfectly valid for an organization to be involved in many different things, but that's got to be apparent in what they've set out to do. And in general, you should really, and I'm talking to a room full of people who are mostly from smaller nonprofits, you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew. It's especially important in times when there isn't a ton of money floating around to identify what it is that you do best and what it is that's most needed in your particular area of service, and really focus on that. That may mean cutting out some services too. In better times, diversity is a little bit more feasible, but a funder is going to want to see that you do have some kind of an overall vision, focus, what we typically call a mission statement, and it ought to show up in a place other than just your proposal to them. They want to see that that's something you believe and are telling everybody, not just them. Okay, we spoke about the financial filings and the 501(c) documentation, the audits, and I don't think we need to say anything more about that right now. Okay, again, we'll belabor the obvious a little bit over here. I've seen this a million times. You look at the offering for the grant, and you say, okay, when's it due? Oh, end of January. I've got 2 weeks. That's fine. And then it's the last week of January. You say, I've got a few days. It's fine. And then you actually read it in detail. You say, I have an important question that I need answered before I can finish this grant proposal. And then you read the fine print, and it said that the deadline for asking questions was last week. Happens all the time. So be aware that there are maybe several layers of deadline over there. And then from a practical standpoint, it's just a fact of life. Until you're actually in it and start writing it, you're not going to know the questions that are going to occur to you until you've gone through that that request for grant proposals in detail and have really absorbed it. You're not going to know what questions are going to occur to you. So it's a good general advice for life, but it's especially important when you're writing a grant proposal, or for that matter in business, any kind of proposal. Just if it's due at the end of January, set a mental deadline for yourself 2 or 3 weeks earlier. It's really due the 15th of January. And Murphy's Law will almost always, pop up, and you'll find that you may actually need that extra time. And that'll be the difference between being able to get it in and not being able to get it in. Internal review is an important thing also. People tend to become, enamored of something that they've written themselves. Ooh, this is so beautiful. It's perfect. It's wonderful. Second, when you write something yourself, you tend to overlook simple, even obvious errors. You just left out a word. You give it to somebody else to read, and in the first place, and and somebody who knows what they're talking about, preferably a colleague in your organization who knows what you're talking about, and they'll say, that paragraph is unmitigated drivel. It sounds terrible. Rewrite it. Or you left out a word here. That kind of thing is just, a second set of eyes is always, generally a good thing. And if you want to add a third set of eyes, that's even better. And as we said, it's got to go from here to there. And so you've got to allow enough time to actually do that. Okay, so now you've got the grant proposal. You went through it, and you've got the grant proposal request. You've went through it in detail. You understand all the criteria. Your paperwork is in order. You're in compliance. And you actually got to start writing, and you've got to organize the proposal. It's not a good idea, unless you've already done this like a million times before, to just sit down and start writing. If you've done it a million times before, you can get away with a lot of things. But otherwise, you really should start off with an outline first. In fact, as I'm going to say, you should really create an outline and use that as your template for most of your grant proposals. And have a clear idea, and it helps to write it down on paper. The advent of computers and word processing makes this a very creative and organic process. You don't have to sit there and write it down and cross that anymore. I know I'm dating myself, but in the old days, it was rather painful. You always need revisions, but now you can sort of start brainstorming, and these are all points that are going to appear in a certain structure in your ultimate grant proposal, but get them down and save them separately, and they are recyclable. Don't forget. What are you going to use the funds for? everybody in this room is sitting here saying, "Oh my gosh, we need money," and I'm 100% sure that it's true, but in and of itself, that statement's not going to cut it with anybody. So, what do you need the funds for? And of course, as we said earlier, specifically to the interests of this particular grantor, what do I need the funds for? I'm running a program to give remedial education to kids after school, and I need the funds to pay rent for the room, to pay for the tutors, to buy and maintain the computer equipment that's needed for that, to pay my electric bill and the phone bill and the internet bill and so on and so forth. Really, really specific. What do you need the funds for? Now, that ties in with the next thing, which is how much you're asking for. I should mention, by the way, we will not go straight until 4:30. We will be breaking at 12:30 about for lunch, and maybe we'll take like a 5-10 minute just clear your head break, a little bit before that too. Yeah.